Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. This afternoon, we're going to be looking at the year-end close process within Caseware Working Papers. There's going to be the two of us on the webinar this afternoon. So there's going to be myself, Georgina Atfield. I'm one of the Education and Media Technicians at Caseware. And then there's going to be my colleague, James Wright, also an Education and Media Technician. So I'm going to be sort of lurking in the background, just monitoring questions that come in, and it will be James that will be taking you through the main presentation today. So questions wise, if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, then just use the Q&A field at the bottom of the Zoom panel. And like I say, I'll be monitoring those, and also we'll look to include a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and it will be made available after sort of in the next couple of days. So if you need to pass it on to colleagues or you need to catch up later on, if you need to duck out, then you can do so. Just going to hand you over to James now.
Perfect. Thank you, Georgie. Hello, everybody. So in today's webinar, I'm just going to run through the agenda here. We're going to be going through the preparation of the Caseware desktop engagement file for year-end close, signatory options and other account completion procedures. So that's just touching on mainly the difference between the accounts, the wizard for the accounts and the wizard for, say, like a charity file. We're going to be looking at the trial balance, wizard and roll forward cells. The year-end close cleanup and lockdown procedures, sorry, there. And then also a SmartSync roll forward overview. So the slight changes there. So just to break it up as well, we will be looking at quite a few separate files here. So we're jumping across a few files. I've got a normal local set of normal accounts. We've got the same accounts, but put up on the cloud as SmartSync. We also have a charity set of accounts, and we have an audit file as well. Finally, we do also have a cloud-based set of accounts, and we'll just cover that at the end. The slight differences on there and how you do a year-end close on that file. Perfect. So without further ado, I'll just open up the first file here. Perfect. We'll be jumping through and juggling quite a few set of accounts here. There we go. So we've got this LLP FRS 102 here. So just some preparation notes before doing a roll forward on any file. We'd normally suggest doing a quick backup to it. So of course, that's file in the top left here and down to the backup button here. I'm not going to perform one for today, just for the sake of speed on the webinar. But you can select browse for the file path that you want to use, include subfolders, and click OK. And it creates a little compressed version copy of this file for you. Wonderful. So I'm just going to jump into the wizard. Perfect, on the local accounts here. So we should be able to just pull that up. There we go. Wonderful. So once you've gone through, set up your wizard, you're happy with your accounts. You'll find that you'll come back to this wizard completion section, and you want to set your accounts up with the following options in order to be have the file one locked down with that little orange padlock on it, ready for roll forward. So to start with, we have this accounts option at the top. We want to change it from draft accounts, of course, to final accounts. This will remove any watermarks, anything like that. We want also to include the printed signatory dates. The printed dates themselves, and then if you're filing with regulatory bodies, you want to select this option here as well. We do also have the option to select to lock for a client approval copy. So we can select this button here, and it will lock any updates on the file there. There's a little description at the bottom. You can enter the date in which you send it to the client, and then after doing so, there'll be another box for a date entry saying when you received it back from the client. For today, we're going to be leaving that there. We then also have this signatory dates option. And for any of these options, if you can't see them at all, do just use the little expansion button on the side there. So we do have this option here for the signatory dates. You'll pop in the dates for the member's approval and the audit report. Obviously, it will depend on what file you have and the setup there. Finally, we have the signatories option, and down here you'll select the basically the roles and where you want each of the members to appear. So the balance sheet and the members report here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up the wizard for a charity file and just show you the slight differences that we have there. Bear with me 2 seconds. Perfect. I'll just drag that across here. Wonderful. So again, we've got all the same setup at the top, but we see this signatory section at the bottom is a tiny bit different here. And we've got a couple more lines and the signatory dates there. But this is the section we're interested in. We have this option, this question mark option here, which we can select. Essentially, ticking this will turn on and off this second section here. So I can turn it off and click OK. And for today's purposes, I'm going to leave that deselected there. Perfect. We also have these options to sort the trustees report signatories as well as the balance sheet signatories. Basically doing the same thing here. So I'll just select the balance sheet ones. We have the option to drag and drop to reorder these names, as well as you'll cycle through the titles at the top here if you select the names. So one click makes Norman the chair of trustees. Another click makes them a trustee, and then clicking again will cycle through to that no assigned state, no title assigned to that user. If you do mess up for whatever reason, you can update and reset here, but save and close to save any of your changes there. So that's just a quick overview of the small differences between the charity file and the normal accounts there. Perfect. So we're just going to jump into the face of our accounts file, jumping back here. And I'll drag those across for me, just loading up. Perfect. Alrighty, so we're just going to touch on some of the customizations that we have available on the balance sheet, even after doing a lockdown, completing the completion section of the wizard. We do now have this padlock. We can still make changes to the accounts within this signatories options area. So we have this option to select again a question mark button, and it will show this pop-up window here. Just going to run through quickly the options that we have available here. So first of all, we can increase the number of space lines required before the signatories. Just increase it to say 7 to show the maximum effect there. We also have the option to include 1 or 2 signatory rows if required. Keen-eyed of you will see that there's only 1 extra row available there. What will happen is once you select, you'll get another second row made available there. You can select that one as well. Again, we'll just select both of them to show the most impact here. We have the option to include the printed second signature column. I'm going to leave that selected for today. And then we also have the option to tick to show printed dots above the signatory names. Now, I can select to include this, and you may know that you can notice that you can hover over these dots. Selecting them will actually change the presentation of them. There we go. And you'll notice that from dotted, it will say solid there. And you can see that in actual fact, that's made some kick the processes into working. So we've actually had some of these previous changes act in effect here in the back end there. We also have the option to include the printed date after signatory. Why not? We'll include that as well. And then this also gives us a second option as well to add a printed space before the date row. So we can click OK to confirm those changes. And that's one, there we go, customized balance sheet section there for the signatory area. So it's something to be aware of on the balance sheets there. Perfect. Alrighty, so once you've done that, wonderful. Oh, sorry, one other thing to note is that if you do want to double check the presentational changes of this, do just jump up to the top here and click to print preview. Alternatively, you can just select F4 on your keyboard and I'll show you a PDF screen preview of your accounts there, so you get fair representation. Wonderful. All right, so we're going to jump into the working papers side for this file now. Just open that up, bear with me 2 seconds. Wonderful. Okay, one thing I want to go over is file retention on here. So when you do a roll forward, you may find that you might want to keep documents year on year. And to do so, all you need to do is right-click the document. So for example, what we're going to use is this PDF of accounts. Say if we wanted to keep them, or it was a PDF of some other document in which we wanted to keep year on year, we can right-click, select properties, and then we have this button just here, retain on clear up, and also roll forward. So we can protect it in both ways. We can protect it from a cleanup if someone were to run one of those later on, and we can also protect it for the roll forward as well. So that document will be rolled forward. I'm just going to click cancel on there and show you another way of seeing whether a file is protected for a roll forward. And that's just by changing the columns in which are shown in the document manager. So to do so, what we can do is right click the top, go to show, and we can show, there we go, the roll forward option there. And from here, in fact, what you can do is just click and select and deselect straight away from here instead of going into that properties window. Just makes things a little bit faster for you. Perfect. Another thing to do with, say, PDFs and files that you might want to keep. This example here is a great one. On next year's file, I don't exactly want a PDF of the draft of the previous year's file, but I may want to remind myself that I want to create that draft and I want it to appear within this document manager. You can do so with the placeholder. Now, you may have created a placeholder before. I've got one just within this folder here. And it looks just like this. There's a little window with a downwards facing arrow on there. That's done by right-clicking and selecting new placeholder just here. But if I already have a document in here that I want to retain and upon a roll forward, change it into a placeholder, I can instead right-click, go to properties, and then just under this retain on cleanup, we've got this roll forward as placeholder. I can select that option there and click OK. And again, this can also be done by showing and then roll forward as placeholder. And we can see exactly which documents we roll forward for next year as a placeholder. And once they are rolled forward, all you do is go to the properties and go to browse, find your document and pop it in there. Perfect. Now we've covered that, what I'm going to do is just jump into one of our audit files. Wonderful. Okay, another way of getting all those all the options on the columns to show is by going to view and then reorder columns. And you can see here we have all the same options under this hidden columns row, and we can just drag them across. So roll forward as placeholder, select that one, rolling forwards, retain on cleanup, and lock down. The reason why I've selected retain on cleanup and lockdown is it's just going to cover this next section of the webinar for us. So I'm going to click OK on there, and we can also reorder them using the buttons on the side here. And there you go. That's just a bit of a faster way to bulk show different columns for you there. Perfect. Okay, so the next section, we're just going to go over retaining files upon doing a cleanup. So the reason why I've jumped into an audit file is it's normally you might want to retain worksheets and different documents that are specific to an audit. Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll run a cleanup. Just go up to, here we go, engagement. And then we can click this cleanup button under the manage section here. Now we can select to retain the history if we wanted to keep it, and we can retain the milestones if we wanted to keep it as well. That's up to you, and it depends on the file that you have there. We can then click next, and then we can click finish. I'm not going to run this today just for the sake of speed, but what it will do is remove any files that aren't required before doing your roll forward, just to clean up the file a bit. So I'm just going to click cancel on there. And of course, if you need to protect any files, ensure that you select the retain on cleanup button here. So you can see which files will be protected, quite a few of them here. But if there are any files that you didn't want protected, just deselect that button there. Perfect. Just going to jump back to the normal set of local accounts here. Wonderful. And we're just going to go over the lockdown procedure as well. So you may, upon doing a roll forward, you may want to do a lockdown to the file. The lockdown is a bit misleading in a way. What it will do, instead of locking the file with a password, it will just simply force users to provide a reason as to why they're unlocking the file in the future. So you'll notice that this file has never been locked down. Under the engagement section, we can see it's got the option to lock down. If it had previously been locked down, it would instead say relock up there. So you can select this button here. We have the option to lock down right now or lock down at a predetermined date. I believe this is based on jurisdiction as well, as you can see here, time-based and jurisdiction. So you can set that up to lock down in the future if required. But today we're just going to lock down now. And you'll notice that you can perform quite a few tasks in here, actually. You can perform your cleanup, your year-end close as well. And you can also delete selected files found in your client directory there. We're just going to skip that for today. We're just going to do a normal lockdown. I'm going to select next and then finish on here. So keep an eye on the bottom right here. We'll see that we'll have a padlock appear, and also keep an eye on the document logos as well. You'll notice that they will change. So if you do ever come into a file and there's, for whatever reason, you can't access some of the files, you're having some issues, just keep an eye out for these little grey padlocks within the document manager. You may need to just unlock the file temporarily. And the reason why we do this is so that you can view like an audit trail of the reasons why people have unlocked the file in the future, to change work after the fact it's been rolled forward. Obviously that's a useful log there. We'll just give it a few seconds to finish up here. Georgie, have we had any questions come in the meantime?
We haven't at this stage, no.
No problem. And just a quick reminder for everyone, the Q&A section will be at the end of today's webinar, and there is a Q&A button just at the bottom of your screen. There should be, or it might be at the top, depending on how you've set up your Zoom. Just give this a second here. Now, one thing to be aware of is once you have applied a lockdown to the file, the little padlocks will remain on there, so you can always tell if the file has been locked down previously. What will happen when we do a roll forward later on this particular file is the new file will not retain that lockdown feature. So, of course, you wouldn't want it on a brand new file, but you'd have to reapply it again when you want to do another roll forward to that new file later in the year, for example. Just give this a second. Perfect. And there we go. So we can see that grey padlock just down here. And we can see the grey padlocks against the documents here, as well as under engagement, we now have unlock as a feature at the top here. So I'm just going to show you is the process of unlocking. Select that button, and you'll notice we don't have any passwords, any accounts, or any usernames or anything like that. We just have to provide a reason for my webinar. And we can select to keep this unlocked until we relog later as well. And select OK there. Perfect. And that button then changes to relock. Wonderful. All right, so there is a slight difference between sets of accounts that are stored locally and those of you who are running SmartSync accounts. One thing that we want to do is make sure we prepare our SmartSync accounts ready for a roll forward. SmartSync accounts have a parent file which is on our Caseware Cloud or your Caseware Cloud, and then you have your child copies of the files, which are the ones which are stored on your local machines. What we want to do is make sure that we have all users off of those files before we do a roll forward, so we can't have anyone online. And the reason why we don't want anyone online is because we're going to abandon all of their copies and leave ours as the one that gets rolled forward. And for obvious reasons, we don't want people doing work while we're trying to do a roll forward on a final file in theory. So what I've got here, I'll just drag across, is the exact same file, just with Georgie in it at the moment. And if you need to find a user list, this user list on the side, just go to the view section show, and then select to turn on the user list. Now we can see that Georgie is currently within the file and she's online at the moment. Georgie, would you mind just closing down the file for me and we'll just see what happens there? So what you would do is just double check that all your colleagues are out of the file. Wonderful. So Georgie's out of the file now, and she's no longer online. It means that she's still got a version of this file, a child copy of this file that we will need to abandon, but we can successfully abandon it now that she's offline. We can view this by going to the online section and clicking properties. And we can see that I've got a file here and Georgie's got a file there, and she's currently offline as it's grayed out. This top version is the parent file, and I can see that I am 100% in sync with that parent file, which is a good thing. If you weren't fully synced with the parent file, then you can either select under the cloud section to resync, or close down the file, reopen it. It should kick the sync in there. Perfect. Now what we want to do is go ahead and abandon Georgie's file. So we'll just head up to the engagement sections. Then we want to go to also tool sections, then the maintenance button there. And we want to select this abandon synchronized copies here. And then we'll select next. And we'll just jump into that properties window just after this and see how that looks. Now, bear in mind, Georgie's file isn't being deleted from her machine. She's still going to have that file there. Just next time that she opens it up, it's going to let her know that it's no longer published or synced with the parent file. It's that link's been broken there. So in theory, she could still look at the accounts. She just needs to be made aware that any work that she does won't be synced to the cloud. And in theory, you shouldn't be doing any work after a roll forwards. Perfect. So here we go. We've got a list of the users, and of course, if you've got a few more colleagues on here, the list will be longer. All we need to do is select the user's file that we want to abandon. Obviously, we can't abandon our own version, so we'll select Georgie in this example and click next. It's going to give us a log of exactly what's about to happen. We're going to abandon her file. We'll click to finish. Just give that a second to run. Now, if you have a colleague who does need to get back on the file, does want a sunk version of the file, then they can either use the tools within Caseware to resync that file. However, the easiest thing that I'd suggest is just go onto the cloud, take a new version of it, and you've got a fully connected file there. Perfect. So we'll go down to online again. Oops, don't want that window. There we go. Go to the online section, properties, and now we can see here that we've just got my file and Georgie's file that's been removed there. So that would be the process for SmartSync. You would then go through and do the year-end close on this file. We're not going to be doing it to this file. We'll do it to my local one that we've got set up. And just segueing onto that now. Hide that one away. Perfect. So this is the local set of accounts that I've got. It's not SmartSync at all. And that's just for speed for today. Alrighty, so just going to go ahead and go to engagement up here. And we'll click year end close. Wonderful. What we want to do is name the file. So this isn't very inspiring, this one. So it's just, we'll call it LLP FRS 102. And then we'll call it 2024, for example. You can then browse to the section in which you want to roll forwards to. I'm just going to leave it as, actually, I will change that for today. Just change it off screen here. Perfect. Wonderful. Name over here. As I've changed the file path. Perfect. Okay. Now we have a couple of options down at the bottom here. We've got this roll forward options list. So we have this option to compress the prior year file. This is a good one just to save storage. So similar to doing a backup where it would provide you with a compressed file, or doing save and compress. We can compress the prior year file. Of course, you might want to save some storage. You're not really going to be opening up, in theory, not really going to be opening up that prior year file anytime soon. And when you do, just open it up and extract all the content for you. So it doesn't change the file at all. It's normally something we recommend doing. We have this option to update the prior year balance. Normally we would suggest selecting that. And then we have the option to update the next year's opening balance with, I'd suggest unselecting this, deselecting this, sorry, if you are importing using an Excel document or any of the other accounting softwares that we support. This option's available for those who would be manually entering the figures, and it's not normally applicable to the majority of users here. We have a couple more options down at the bottom. This is just a quick reminder that Caseware Working Papers is an internationally used bit of software. So a lot of these options aren't applicable to the UK audience. So for today, we're going to leave them as they are, and we're going to be ignoring them. So we'll go all the way down to this OK button at the bottom and select OK on there. And then what it's going to do is just run through the roll forward process. Now, keep an eye up here on the name. We should see that change. What Caseware does is it doesn't just roll forward the file, it will roll forward and open it up automatically. So you may see that, the file doesn't appear to change after the roll forward. It looks pretty similar. That's just the new file that's been opened up automatically for you there. While this runs, Georgie, do you have any questions that have come in?
We do. We've got a couple come in. So we've had one, which is once you have signature dates on a set of accounts, I thought the file becomes locked to any future updates and changes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the signature, so I believe that's in reference to that balance sheet change that we made. So yeah, of course, if you make any changes to the note, if you were to lock down a file, then remove and replace the note, what it will do is remove the note, but it won't replace it. So it will kind of break the note in that way. It shouldn't let you change any figures there either. So it's not going to push any new information to the accounts. It's just a presentational change on the signatures there. And of course, to display the signatures, we have to complete that completion section. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. But yeah, you are able to make a change to the signatory section there. And it's kind of a exception, not the rule there.
Yeah, I suppose also a reassurance there is, I'm guessing you mean in relation to an EPAC update that you've applied. So it is the case that once you've entered dates into the completion section, no EPAC knowledge library updates would be applied to that set of financial statements. So hopefully that's helped to reassure you there.
Perfect. And what was the other question there, Georgie?
So the other one is there a way to save the account with a password to open to limit access?
Not that I'm aware of. Georgie, do you know any different to that? I understand we have roles.
Yeah, so we've got roles within the file, so you can set up security on the file. So you can set up permissions, so that if you had junior members of staff, for example, that you wanted to sort of restrict their limitations, their access, and their sort of what they're able to do within the set of in the file, you can certainly do it via the permissions and security on the file. But with regards to obviously creating a password on the financial statements themselves, no.
No problem. We will add that to the handout. So I've just found an article. It's ID 792. If you want to have a look at that on our help site, help.caseware.co.uk. It just runs over that protection setup that Georgie was talking about. Just back to the file here. We've got our new roll forward file. So we've got this name change at the top there, and it's automatically closed down the prior file there for us. Perfect. So that's all done there. What I'm just going to cover now is the final file in our list. So we've been through quite a few today. I'm just going to pull up the cloud accounts that we've got here. So bear me 2 seconds. There we go. Pull those across. Getting the exact same name, and this is actually where I've saved the SmartSync file as well. This one just here. But I've also created a file within the cloud as well. So to do a year-end close to this file, select the file under engagements and go up to the triple dot menu here, and we can select to create the next period's file here. And pretty similar process. We want to add in the name. You probably put in the year for the file there, and then you can also pop in the start and end date for that file, and then select save. And then what it will do is it will save the file, and again open up that new file for you on a brand new tab there. Perfect. So I believe that brings us towards the end of today's webinar. I'll just pull up the slides again here. Bear with me 2 seconds. There we go. And just to go over the questions there, Georgia, should I hand this back to you?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We haven't had any more questions sort of beyond those two, but you know, feel free to carry on logging any as the webinar sort of wraps up. If there's anything you wish to ask, then by all means. But otherwise, so to make you aware of some facilities that are available to you, we do have our social pages. So we've got LinkedIn, so we've got Client Services Caseware UK Limited LinkedIn page. So we post on there quite regularly, just regarding sort of updates on product releases and sort of the goings on at Caseware. So head over there and give us a follow. Also, we have our Client Services YouTube channel as well. So we upload video content in the way of quick vids, webinar recordings. As I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar has been recorded today. So we do have a webinars playlist on there. So you can go and have a look and a browse and catch up on previously run webinars, as well as many other content items. And we've categorized them by product as well. So you'll be able to find those that are relevant to you. We do also have our help sites available as well. So that's help.caseware.co.uk. The recording of today will be placed on our help site. And again, we've got lots of articles, guidance, how-to guides, etc. over there. Again, categorized by each of our product types. So you'd be able to find what is relevant to you. Perfect. Okay, so that is everything for today. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I say, you can pass that recording on to colleagues or catch up at a later date if needs be. Thank you very much.
Good day. Bye-bye.